Hello, good people. Have you ever thought, man, I wish I could have chosen my major? And not just like chosen science and math. Not that those are the terms. I mean, really chosen your major. Like, designed your own major? Well, that's what I did, and I'm here to tell you about it. And if you're younger and you're thinking about college, this is a good opportunity for you to look at this video and think, maybe I do want to design my own major. Let me know what you think. Gotta get the water in. So, what do I mean I designed my own major? Well, that's exactly what it is. I went to college for language as a tool to break down cultural barriers. That's my major. Not philosophy and liberal arts or anything like that. I suppose if you were to break it down, it could be race and ethnic studies, sociology, psychology, Japanese, Chinese, and Spanish. Those were all the languages I studied, and I studied how I, as a Black girl, could learn those languages and either assimilate or not assimilate or enter into those cultures by knowing those languages. And those languages have allowed me to really expand my world in a way that I didn't think was possible. So, how did I get there? Originally, I started the college process senior year, and I went to California with my dad and my grandmother. And I have family out in California, so it was good to take a vacation as well. But my dad and I went on a whole tour from north to south of California of all of the universities. Now, at the time, my number one university was USC. I was determined to go to USC. And I'm not quite sure why at this point, although I think I would have enjoyed it if I did go. I ended up getting waitlisted at USC, but I did, I think I would have liked it if I had gone. But we go on this whole tour. We go all the way up to San Francisco and all the way down to San Diego. And at one point, we get to this small private university called the University of Redlands. It's about an hour east of LA in Redlands, California. And we're doing the campus tour. We're walking around with people. And we get to the one section that they call the Johnston Center for Integrative Studies. Now, Johnston is a school within a school, technically. It is a program within the school of the University of Redlands, a school sort of on its own, where you're allowed to create your own major. And as the tour guide was describing it, my dad was like, I think this is the place for you. And at first I was a little hesitant. I was like, okay, I guess. And we kept walking around, and the campus is beautiful, and people seemed nice, but I wasn't sure that it was for me. But my dad said it was, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna trust my dad on this one, and I'm gonna try it out. Now, granted, my dad went to Yale, my mom went to Northwestern, so at first, I think a lot of my hesitation was I'm not going to a name brand school, like a Big Ten or something like that. But I'm really glad, actually, in the end, that my dad asked me to think about the University of Redlands and to think about Johnston, because I had an amazing time when I was there. So the way that Johnston works is you can apply, when you're applying to the university, you can say, I want to go to Johnston. And so you can apply directly that way. Or occasionally they have transfers who come in, they've gone to the university, they applied to University of Redlands, got in, and now they want to transfer to Johnston. So usually after their first year of college, they've realized that they really like the Johnston Center and they like the program, and so they want to transfer into it. So those are the two options. I chose to apply directly to the Johnston Center. So when I applied for the University of Redlands, I applied directly to the Johnston Center for Integrative Studies. And I got in. It was really great. I was really excited. Moved out to California and thought, here we go. I'm so excited. And the way that the process works for Johnston is that there's sort of different phases of your Johnston process. So for the first year or so, you're taking breadth and depth. So similar to your regular classes that you would take at like a liberal arts college. However, with Johnston, you're thinking about your narrative, and your narrative is what you write in your second year of university, and it is sort of what you think you're going to do for your time at Johnston. And it definitely is like a whole big thing, and you have a committee that comes together to read your narrative and to help you figure out the right classes to take and whether or not you're on the right path. So when I started my first year, I thought I was going to go into art therapy. So I took art classes. I still took Spanish because I entered into the highest level there. And I was thinking I was going to open up a art therapy center in Santa Monica right on the beach. And it was going to have like 2 levels. I like drew it out. I was so into art therapy because it had really helped me when I was in high school and things like that. Just with, I really found myself getting into the zone, getting into flow when I was doing my art. So I thought, art therapy, that's got to be it. So I took those classes my first year. But then at the end of my first year, I had the opportunity to go to Japan. And if you look at my other video about how I learned Japanese, that'll tell you a little bit more about that. But essentially, we had a month-long program called May Term, and you could go travel or you could study one class for that whole month. And so I chose to travel to Japan for a month, and it changed everything. So I came back and I decided that I was going to do languages, and those happened to be at the same time as my art classes. So unfortunately, I had to give up my art classes, but gladly I was able to take my language classes. Now, for each class, up until your sophomore year, you have to write a contract. So the professor will give you the syllabus, and then you have to look at the syllabus and decide what aspects of it you're going to do and how you're going to do them. So for example, if there's a science class and you want to run a different type of experiment, you write that into the contract, and then you and the professor discuss like what works and what will qualify you to pass that class. And you do eventually get grades. In the end, they can convert your grades, but you mostly get evaluations. So what happens is you write the contract, you and the professor both sign off on it, and then you fulfill the contract for the class. And then at the end, you write a document about how you fulfilled that class, and how well you think you did, and what you did do and what you didn't do. Hopefully you did most of the stuff that you said you were going to do. And then the professor says, okay, yeah, I think you did really well on this, and they write an evaluation for you as well. It's a lot of writing. It is a lot of processing, like how you think you're doing. It's a lot of self-analyzation, right? Like, did I do well on that project? Did I do the project I said that I was going to do? Did I like really fulfill this contract that I have with this professor? So it also requires a level of trust between you and the professor and you and yourself. You really have to think through what it is that you're really trying to accomplish by taking that class. So you both write contracts and evaluations for each class, which is, again, it's just a lot of writing, which takes a lot of thinking and things like that. And it's a little bit different from the other students who just get a grade. Not that there's anything bad with that, but you have to do a couple of extra steps in order to get a satisfactory sort of pass-fail with that class. And then, like I said, at the end, when you're getting ready to graduate, they will look at all of your evaluations. The Johnston Center will look at all your evaluations, and they'll assign you a grade and a GPA. So it's definitely different. A lot of people at first are like, why would you do that? Like, that's so much work. Like, why would you do that? And I get it. At first, when I graduated, I was definitely like, oh no, what have I done? What did I just spend the past 4 years doing? Because every time I talked to somebody about how I had graduated, they were like, you graduated with what? Your major is what? You have to do what? They really didn't understand. But now that I'm 10 years out, I don't even know at this point, I am so thrilled that I did it because it really gave me tools that I didn't even realize were going to come up. Negotiation skills, analyzation skills, being able to analyze my own work, being able to analyze others' work, being able to read contracts, which sounds funny, but Actually, I learned how to read a document to figure out like, okay, this is what they're doing, this is what they're thinking about doing, this is how I want to approach that situation. So it really gave me some skills that I think, normally you just look at the syllabus and you say like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing, that's our final project. But with Johnston, you had a lot more flexibility with what you could do with your final project and things like that. So as I said, in sophomore year, you have your narrative, and then that helps you decide which breadth and depth classes you're going to take. So you, of course, have to take, satisfactory requirements to graduate. So like a science, a math, a liberal arts, things like that. So I think I ended up taking statistics and econ. Those are my math classes. I was going to take statistics at UCLA. I think I didn't take it. So maybe I just took econ. I took micro econ at Redlands. I don't really like math. And then I took a biology class, I think, to fulfill my science requirement. But even with those, I was able to customize like which aspects of those that I really wanted to focus on so that they helped me with what I was really trying to do with languages and things like that. So you take a bunch of breadth and depth. You can also study abroad. A lot of people study abroad. I unfortunately was unable to study abroad because of the Great East Japan earthquake. So I ended up studying at UCLA for pretty much most of my junior year. The first semester I was at my university, and then second semester, because of the way that the Japanese calendar works, I was supposed to leave in March and come back in August. I couldn't leave in March. So from March to June, I sort of worked. And then I went to school and worked during the summer. So that made up for the credits that I needed. I actually graduated with a lot more credits because I had studied Japanese in the summers. So those credits transferred over. So once you get to your junior year, you have to do what's called a grad contract. And earlier I referred to it as a narrative, but it's a grad contract because part of it has a narrative. And you write this contract based on all of the classes that you've taken, all of the information that you've learned, and you are writing about basically your whole college experience and how it has shaped into your emphasis. Now, that's what we call majors. So most people say their major. I would say my emphasis was language as a tool to break down cultural barriers. So that's when you prove how you studied that, how you did that, what did you take to really make that happen. And you sit in front of a grad contract committee, but they also invite your family members, professors that you've worked with. Everybody comes around and is there to support you and listen to what you studied, ask you questions. Anyone on the committee can ask you questions, and then you could open it up to anybody in the room. And then usually when you open it up to people in the room, a lot of your friends will say really nice things about you, or what you meant to them while you were studying there and things like that. So overall, it's a really great opportunity to really think about your education and sort of take control of it. A lot of times I think we're just told to go to college and we have to study this and we have to study this, but Johnston allows you to really think about what you want to study and how you want to study it. And it's really a unique opportunity that I'm very blessed and very glad to have had the chance to participate in, because I think it really changed and shaped who I am as a person and really helped me think differently about education. So if you're interested in more, I left some links below that can teach you more about Johnston. You can learn more about the university, go more in depth, or if you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask me. Always happy to answer any questions about it.